In the book Chicken Soup for the Soul, Eric Butterworth writes about a college professor who had his sociology class go into the Baltimore slums to get a case history of 200 young boys. Now, they were asked to write about the children's living conditions and their future prospects. The students were shocked by the slum condition and saw evidence of criminal activity on every corner. The students felt that most of them would serve time in prison, and in every case, the students wrote, "He hasn't got a chance." Now, 25 years later, another sociology professor came across this earlier study, and he had his students follow up on the project to see what had happened to these boys. Now, with the exception of 20 boys who had moved away or died, the students learned that 176 of the remaining 180 had achieved more than ordinary success as lawyers, as doctors, and as businessmen. The professor was astounded and decided to pursue the matter further. Fortunately, most of the men were in that area, and the professor was able to ask each one, "How do you account for your success?" And every reply started with these words, "There was a teacher." Now the teacher was still alive. So the professor sought her out and asked the old but still alert lady what was the magic formula that she had used to pull these boys out of the slums into successful achievement. The teacher's eyes sparkled and her lips broke into a gentle smile. "It's really very simple," she said. "I loved those boys." Friends, ask anyone about the most important learning experience of their lives, and they will tell you a story about a relationship with a teacher or a trainer or a coach or maybe a superior. It is evident that the teacher or mentor loved them so effectively that each of them felt valued and cherished to such an extent that they believed in themselves and found the inspiration and ambition that finally led to their achievement. Friends, whether you are a leader of a business team, a sports team, or your family, it is essential to have an attitude of believing the best in others. Johann Wolfgang Goethe said it in this way: "The way you see people is the way you treat them, and the way you treat them is what they become." If you believe a team will succeed or fail, guess what? You are right. Remember, people will rise to the level of expectation you set for them. A growing body of research shows that expectations can influence everything from our perception of taste and enjoyment of experiences to our performances on specific tasks. Now, the first study to look at whether expectations can positively influence performance was carried out in the 1960s by a Harvard psychologist by name Robert Rosenthal, together with an elementary school principal by name Lenore Jacobson. Now, they found that the students from whom teachers expect more were more likely to have made larger gains in their academic performance. And this psychological phenomenon is known as Pygmalion effect. Now, Pygmalion was a gifted sculptor who created a statue of a woman so perfect that he fell in love with his own creation. Now, after Pygmalion desperately prayed to Aphrodite, the goddess of love, she took pity on him by bringing the statue to life. Now, the opposite of this is known as the golem effect, named after a similar Jewish myth about a clay creature that was given life by a rabbi. Now, the idea behind it is that when lower expectations are placed upon us, whether by ourselves or by others, our performance goes down. Both effects are forms of what is known as self-fulfilling prophecies. This is exactly what Stephen Covey said: "Treat a man as he is, and he will remain as he is. Treat a man as he can and should be, and he will become as he can and should be." The Pygmalion effect explains why all our relationships are, in a very real sense, self-fulfilling prophecies. The Pygmalion effect was first observed in a classroom setup. This Robert Rosenthal, an elementary school principal, Leonard Jacobson, observed the phenomenon at a school. They gave the elementary school children an IQ test and then informed their teachers which children among them were going to be average and which children were going to be bloomers. The 20% of students who showed unusual potential for intellectual growth. Now, they found that the teachers did not expect too much from the average children and gave all their attention to the bloomers. The teachers created a better environment for the bloomers. They gave them more time, more attention, and they called on them for answers more often, and they gave them more detailed feedback when they got something wrong. The results showed that the bloomers' IQ scores had risen significantly higher than the average students, even though these academic bloomers were chosen at random. Now, the experiment finally showed that teachers' expectations worked as a self-fulfilling prophecy. Friends, it turns out that the Pygmalion effect doesn't just exist in schools. It exists at workplace as well. If a manager believes that their team consists only of high performers, they outperform an equivalent team whose manager believes the opposite. When team members are treated as though they were high performers, they try to live up to that image. They behave and they perform how they believe a high performer would. As a manager, a teacher, or a coach, the Pygmalion effect can give you the secret superpower to create high performing teams. Friends, without ever realizing, we can nudge others towards success. The power of Pygmalion effect is just fascinating. Parents can help children learn more and faster. Mentors can empower mentees, and leaders can contribute to increased team performance. Remember, every person we meet is a block of stone waiting to actualize. We are the sculptors that can leave a lasting mark on every single person we come in contact.